Where do you see the RPG industry in 5 years? Will we see even more pandering to the pseudo-left, or will things return to normal? Will something replace D&D like Pathfinder did? Will Wizbro even still exist?
I'm fairly good at predicting things, but not good enough that I think I can predict where the gaming industry will be in 5 years or so. It's kind of impossible to know. I think too many different things are in flux, right? People are drifting away. COVID is no longer a factor. Critical Role, well, we can no longer see exactly how well Critical Role is doing, but it's been on a downward trend for a while now. Not saying it's not still hugely popular and everything, but just not as popular as it was. I think this 6th edition, whatever they're calling it, isn't it. They're still going to sell a load of the core books, but I suspect that the downward trend on the supplementary material is going to continue, and they're going to be selling less and less books. So as far as Dungeons and Dragons is concerned, as far as Wizbro is concerned, I think it all depends on how well they do with the computerized online side of it. And it seems fairly apparent to me that what they're interested in creating is a walled garden online where you become locked in to D&D and you succumb to the sunk cost fallacy and so on. And they don't actually need to be that successful in terms of raw numbers if they move everything online into this client that they've got. They just need to have enough whales, right? That's kind of the point of a lot of these free-to-play games, pay-to-win games that you find advertised on your mobile phone, right? It's just that handful of people that are willing to pay quite a lot of money that make the thing sustainable. And then on top of that, you've got the subscription fee, like we get for everything these days, you know? So that's going to be a steady source of income over the longer term. But I think role-playing is going to have a slight decline overall. D&D is going to have a relatively sharp decline, but if they succeed in computerizing D&D in a way that has never successfully been done before, then they may view that as a success, even if the raw numbers and the sales aren't that great, right? So it's going to be hard to tell, hard to judge by old metrics, just how well anyone is doing. So I think we're going to start to see a sharper bifurcation between tier 1 companies, which is basically just Wizbro, tier 2 companies, like Modifius or Paizo, groups like that are big in the space but not big enough to necessarily copy Wizbro's model, and it remains to be seen whether that'll be successful or not. And then we're going to have the indie space, which, whether you're an OSR player or whether you're a story game player, it's going to continue to be a micro press, basically. And I don't think things are going to change that much at that level. I think people are going to continue to become increasingly gun shy of crowdfunding, and I think crowdfunding has already become more hostile, not through any intent or effort, but more hostile to small creators, because it has been almost entirely subsumed into a pre-order process for companies that don't actually need to use crowdfunding. So that's unfortunate. I think a lot more will probably move to some sort of subscription model, fan support model. Basically, the trends that already exist are going to continue to move forward. Will anything supplant D&D in the public consciousness or in popularity? there's a chance, right? That even 4th edition was mostly the most popular RPG. Pathfinder eclipsed it for a bit at the fag end of 2nd edition. Some of the storyteller games stepped in. There's certainly an opportunity here for someone to step in and have something shape the next decade of gaming, but I don't see any contenders. Pathfinder ain't it this time around. Critical Role's Daggerheart, I don't think, is it. And I think they've lost steam, they've lost headway. The time to come out with their own game would have been a handful of years back. And I don't see anyone else ready to assume the mantle of being the big game company going forward. So it's a long-winded way of saying I don't know, but trends we're already seeing are likely to continue. A lot, I mean, like everything, probably depends on how much of a success Wizards can make of their walled garden online model, how well 6th edition does, and how their new SRD and OGL comes out and how it's applied. So there's a lot going on, and I think we'll be in a better position to predict and project in about a year. So ask me again in a year and we should all have a much stronger idea of what's going on.